The barbecue. There was a time that my gal would treat me real nice and fair. She'd always cook me dinner, kiss my forehead, and tell me sweet nothings into the night by that sweet delectable moonlight. But ever since she run off to heaven, I figured she'd be happier up there with them angels, dancing and carrying on as angels are wont to do. She would be her prettiest self in the moonlight. Heck, I say heaven must be nighttime tween the sunset and moonrise, and my baby would shine, yes she would, every night for eternity like an alabaster stone graveyard goddess, dancing with all them little angels. My story really begins with me minding my own business, having a barbecue with my pals on the 4th of July. We'd sit around drinking beers, Carlos, Jesse, Malik, Darren, and I, swapping stories about the factory we worked several decades for, some of us almost 40 years. My wife had passed the August of the previous year, and my pals did right by not mentioning her name because I just wasn't quite ready to talk much about it. As far as I figured, she was up there dancing with them angels, dancing in the moonlight with them cupids and fawns and such, or whatever is up in heaven. If it's not all the time in heaven, I suppose there's got to be possums, and raccoons, and bats and the like as well. But my pa always said there's nothing exposed except the ghost ass, and that's exposed. Never knew quite what he meant by that. I suppose heaven's got great big forests for the angels to sleep under, a whole multitude of stars, creeks to wash in, never run out of Pabst Blue Ribbon or Newport menthols. Hell yeah, brother. No, I didn't have it in mind to start blubbering and crying over losing the love of my life, right in front of my buddies anyway. I really did not want to relive my account of her death. How those wolves dragged her off. How they never found the body. Just scraps of her clothes. Damn wolves ate her up, bones and all, I think. And it's gotta be as simple as that. I can't and ain't gonna think of that moment. How my baby was mutilated to death by those sharp canines of fury, getting dragged off to their den somewheres in the woods. I've yet to find that den, and once I do, I will enact my revenge on them there wolves. So far as I got is finding some rabid coyotes, which I finished off with my 12-gauge shotgun I named Trusty. I found one of my steaks had been burning up 'cause I done drifted off again. I got to be more careful. Thankfully, without acknowledgement of any sissy emotional stuff, Darren took over the grill and I rested and sat with the boys as we each had a cold one in our camper chairs, relaxing by the camper. We were about to swap some more funny jokes and stuff, and we had been on a path to a nice little cackling fest where we all hurled over laughing at each other's jokes and whatnot. But that was when we heard a sound. There was a rustling in the forest. I had my Trusty ready for some action in case of wolves or coyotes. Them coyotes get real restless around here when they take the garbage away, which is every Thursday, and the 4th fell on a Friday. We's all lucky to have the weekend off, and we weren't about letting no coyotes take our shit. Damn things. Now, as we heard some rustling in them there leaves, when out stepped this little boy. Now, this little boy did not look normal by any means, and it shut us all up to see him stagger out the brush like he so did. We had to have stared at him wide-eyed and slack-jawed till his eyes turned solid black. He had nothing to say at all, nothing until he uttered the phrase, "I'm here to see Mrs. Rutledge." The little boy was just wearing pajamas and spoke with a funny English accent, all proper like. We were confused till I finally snapped out of being weirded out. Finally got it in my mind to check the yellow pages. Perhaps Mrs. Rutledge was his caretaker, and he looked as he'd been famished and lost for a whole week. I finally found where local Mrs. Rutledge lived. An old woman's voice answered, "Hello." "Yes'm, I think I got your kid. He seemed to have wandered onto my property out the forest into our barbecue celebration. He ain't done no harm, just lost as far as I'm concerned." "Oh dear, can you bring him to Rutledge Manor?" "Yes'm. Does the address match your number in the yellow pages?" "Yes. This boy must be returned home. I can do that if you bring him here." "All right, ma'am. I'll get him loaded up in the truck." I stepped outside to the patio area where my work bros would be, hoping to catch some more chips and dip to sober up. The poor kid was out there all by himself. All my friends had left. He kept saying sorry this and sorry that when I came up close to him, and noticed all my raw steaks were missing too. Now, at first I thought my workmates might have kept them safe for me from the flies and went for a beer run, but that weren't true if I'm being honest, and I tend to think that I'll be that way. I saw the boy had some blood on his mouth, dripping off of his chin. However, it was too much blood to have come from steaks. "I'm sorry, sir," he said again in that silly sounding English accent, all proper like. "Now, what you sorry for? It's okay you ate my steaks." "I was dreadfully hungry, and I couldn't help myself. Next thing I know..." "Don't beat yourself up, boy. We're gonna get you home now." And that's when I noticed it. It was right there in the grass the whole time, just beside this boy. Whoever he was, it was a sight I'll never forget. Darren's ring finger, all by itself, like it'd been chewed off or something. Now, I'm not a very smart man, but to this day, I think that bloody-mouthed kid with the solid black eyes and that weird accent, all proper like, ate my friends. They never showed up on Monday for second shift duty. Even if they did, Darren'd be missing his finger and the wedding ring that was on it. I reckon he'd want that back, so I kept it in my cooler. Wasn't until then did I decide to bring my cold case to them there authorities. Of course, they don't believe my story about the child or any Mrs. Rutledge. They instead arrested me on suspicion, and that's how I landed here in this here jail cell. All 'cause some little boy ate all my friends, then disappeared. He vanished like a white-tailed deer being chased by hounds. My wife is dead, and all the friends I ever had are gone.